I was a star in all-around athlete in junior high school, and all the way through college. And then I got involved in martial arts as a teenager.
In my opinion, like Bruce Lee was unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable, guys.
Jim Kelly stood next to Bruce Lee and never once looked small doing it. With his afro and the cold stare he embodied so well, he found a place in the hearts of millions of fans. So when he passed away in 2013, fans expected a huge Hollywood goodbye. Instead, there was almost nothing on the news about his passing and funeral. And that weird event made people start asking a very uncomfortable question. Why did so many of his co-stars from Enter the Dragon stay away? The man himself. Some actors have to push incredibly hard just to get people to notice them on a movie screen. But James Milton Kelly possessed this energy that made everyone stop and watch. His performance as Williams in the famous 1973 film Enter the Dragon is still the ultimate example of how to master a scene without doing too much. He shared the frame with global superstar Bruce Lee and seasoned actor John Saxon, but he never let them take the spotlight away from him. The way he spoke his lines was remarkably smooth and slow, and that actually made him look far tougher than the bad guys who were trying to scare him. For instance, when the main villain Han tries to make him feel afraid before a big match, Kelly just looks at him with total calm and tells him that he looks like he belongs right in a comic book. The director of the film, Robert Clouse, liked Kelly so much during the early practice sessions that he changed the script to give Williams a lot more time on screen and more complex fights. Kelly worked directly with Bruce Lee to plan the action, and he brought a totally fresh style to the movie world that audiences had never seen before. He mixed disciplined martial arts moves with a fast, gritty street fighting style that looked completely real, and his smooth footwork made the tough kicks look like the easiest thing in the world. Even the sharp sounds he made during his battles, which went like oop and ayap, were just a practical way to manage his breathing while he was moving fast. He became a massive star around the world because he showed everyone a new kind of black hero who was always cool and never showed a single ounce of fear. He did not have to run after the camera or beg for attention because his natural charm was so strong that viewers were automatically drawn to him whenever he stood still. But the truth is that he did not get this amazing confidence from a fancy acting school, because his inner strength was built through some very tough real-life struggles long before he ever saw a movie set. So how did a regular kid find that kind of power? From Kentucky to a closed door. Kelly's journey began in the small town of Millersburg, Kentucky, where he was born on May 5th in the year 1946. He was a gifted athlete from the moment he was a young boy, and sports came naturally to him because he was faster and stronger than almost everyone else in his neighborhood. He spent his childhood running track, playing basketball and football with a lot of passion. When his family moved to another part of the state, he attended Bourbon County High School, where his incredible speed and power on the football field started making him famous among sports fans. He was so dominant during his high school games that big college scouts from all over the country started visiting his school to watch him play. He eventually chose to attend the University of Louisville because they offered him a highly valuable athletic scholarship, which was a huge achievement for a young black athlete during that specific time period. That scholarship was supposed to be his big ticket out of a small town, and it looked like he was on a straight path toward a very wealthy professional football career. However, his big college sports dream came to a sudden and very painful end during his freshman year at the university. Kelly was sitting with his team one day when he witnessed a white football coach direct a very ugly, racist insult at one of his black teammates. It was a terrible moment that opened his eyes to the harsh reality of the world, and he realized that the sports system would happily use his physical talent without ever giving him true human respect. He possessed far too much pride to stand around and tolerate that kind of bigotry, so he made the immediate decision to walk away from his scholarship and leave the university football program completely. It felt like a great, beautiful door had slammed shut right in his face. But that major setback actually forced him to look for a completely new way to test his body and mind. He stayed in the city of Louisville and started taking his very first lessons in Shorin-ryu karate, turning to martial arts as the exact place of safety and discipline that the traditional sports world had so cruelly denied him. This bold choice completely transformed his path and gave him a brand new purpose in life, and it also convinced him that he needed to pack his bags and head out west toward California, building real credibility in the dojo. When Kelly packed up his life and arrived in California, he was completely focused on earning real respect in the highly competitive West Coast martial arts scene. He dedicated himself entirely to training under top masters and spent countless hours perfecting his sharp reflexes and powerful fast kicks. By the turn of the decade, he had already become a well-known name on the tournament circuit because he fought with speed and raw strength that most traditional point fighters simply could not handle. His breakthrough arrived in the year 1971, which turned out to be the most successful year of his entire athletic career. He absolutely dominated the competition that year by winning 4 major titles, and his biggest victory happened at the famous Long Beach International Karate Championships, where he walked away with the world middleweight crown. That win instantly pushed him to the absolute top of the sport and gave him the ultimate level of real athletic credibility. With a world title under his belt, he decided to open his very own martial arts school right on Crenshaw Boulevard in the heart of Los Angeles. His dojo quickly became a very popular spot in the neighborhood, and it was not long before famous Hollywood celebrities started walking through his doors to learn how to defend themselves. Kelly was an excellent teacher who focused on practical defense moves, and his growing reputation as a top-tier instructor eventually caught the eye of the entertainment industry. In the year 1972, a Hollywood writer who knew one of Kelly's students introduced him to the production team of a brand new action movie called Melinda. The studio had just hired the popular actor Calvin Lockhart to play the lead role, and they desperately needed someone with legitimate skills to train him for the heavy fight scenes. Kelly took the job as a trainer, but the moment the producers watched him move around the set, they realized he had way too much star power to stay hidden behind the scenes. They quickly wrote a small part into the script just for him, casting him as a cool martial arts instructor named Charles Atkins. It was a brief on-screen appearance, but it was just enough to prove that his real-world fighting skills translated beautifully to the big screen. He had successfully used his martial arts titles to break into the movie business, but he still had no idea that a massive stroke of luck was about to change his life forever. Just a few months after his small debut, a huge movie project over at Warner Brothers suffered a sudden casting emergency right before cameras were set to roll. The role that made him a legend. The sudden casting emergency that was brewing in Hollywood involved a major movie project at Warner Brothers called Enter the Dragon. The studio was co-producing the film with a production company in Hong Kong, and it was going to be the first major martial arts film made with a big Hollywood budget. The script required 3 main heroes to travel to a private island for a dangerous tournament, and the role of Williams was supposed to represent a cool, tough black athlete. The producers had originally cast a well-known actor named Rockne Tarkington to play Williams, but just days before the entire crew was scheduled to board planes and fly across the world to Asia, Tarkington suddenly dropped out of the film due to an unexpected contract dispute. This left the production team in a state of total panic because they had a large crew waiting in Hong Kong and absolutely no one to play one of the biggest characters in the entire story. The producer of the film, Fred Weintraub, desperately needed to find a replacement who possessed real martial arts skills and a powerful look, so he began calling everyone he knew in the Los Angeles area. Kelly's agent heard about the frantic search and immediately told Weintraub about the world champion middleweight who was running a popular dojo right on Crenshaw Boulevard. Kelly was rushed over to the studio for a quick meeting, and the moment he walked into the room, his natural confidence and physical build blew the producers away. They did not even need to see him read lines or do a formal screen test. because his calm presence told them everything they needed to know. They offered him the role on the spot, and within a matter of days, he was sitting on a plane bound for Hong Kong to shoot a movie alongside the legendary Bruce Lee. When he arrived on this busy set, Kelly adjusted to the intense filming schedule instantly and worked closely with Bruce Lee to refine his combat choreography. Lee was deeply impressed by Kelly's natural speed, and the two fighters developed a great professional relationship based on mutual respect for each other's skills. Kelly shared the screen with Lee and the popular actor John Saxon, playing the role of Williams with a smooth, unbothered attitude that completely captured the attention of audiences worldwide. The movie became a huge box office hit when it was released in the year 1973, grossing millions of dollars and turning Jim Kelly into an overnight global sensation. His performance completely broke the mold for how black characters were portrayed in action cinema and instantly turned him into a pop culture legend. He had successfully climbed to the very top of Hollywood, but this global success was about to trap him in a studio system that had very limited ideas about his future. A star Hollywood didn't know what to do with. Right after his massive movie hit, the big bosses over at Warner Brothers rushed to make a ton of cash off his sudden fame by locking him into a long contract. This move made him the very first black martial arts guy to ever star in huge Hollywood films, and it led straight to his first solo movie in the year 1974 called Black Belt Jones. Fans absolutely loved it because his fast kicks and super cool vibe were so fun to watch on screen. He kept the momentum going by jumping right into more action hits like Three the Hard Way and Hot Potato. Then, in the year 1977, he took the main role in Black Samurai, playing a secret agent who used his martial arts skills to smash a wild cult. He was working non-stop during those years, but as the decade started winding down, the whole movie world began to change. The problem was that the people who held the money bags could only see him as a guy who did karate chops, so they kept tossing him scripts that were just plain bad. They basically wanted him to play cheap, silly characters that relied on old racial stereotypes, and his personal pride was way too strong to ever let that happen. Years later, during a chat with the Los Angeles Times in the year 2010, Kelly broke down why he vanished from the screen by saying that he never actually quit acting. The real truth was that he chose to walk away because the studios stopped sending him good stories that showed black men in a positive way. He flat out refused to look bad on camera just to get a fat paycheck, so he walked right out on the Hollywood machine. He still had a ton of athletic energy to burn, so he forgot about the cameras and became a certified tennis pro on the senior circuit. He spent the next few decades traveling around and winning matches, showing everyone that his physical skills were still sharp as a knife. He built a great, peaceful life completely away from show business, trading noisy movie sets for the calm layout of tennis courts. His millions of followers across the world kept hoping he would make a big comeback, but he was perfectly content living by his own rules. This independent move kept his legendary name clean, but it also meant his final exit from the world would happen far away from the media. The death that didn't make headlines. After living a great life completely away from the crazy movie world, something very sad happened to our favorite star. On June 29th, in the year 2013, Jim Kelly passed away at his home down in San Diego, California. He was 67 years old when he died, and he had been dealing with a tough battle against cancer. Now, you might think that the passing of one of the absolute coolest martial arts heroes in Hollywood history would be huge news everywhere, but it actually happened with almost zero noise. There were no breaking news flashes on television, and the big newspapers barely even talked about it at all when it happened. It was a very small and private moment for the people who truly knew him best, which is exactly how he wanted to live his life anyway. The very first person to let the world know about the sad news was his ex-wife, a woman named Marilyn Dishman. She went online and posted a very simple note on Facebook to tell his fans that the legendary karate expert was gone. In her message to the public, she made it super clear that the family wanted to keep things completely private. And she told everyone that there would be no big public services or fancy Hollywood funerals for him. She wanted to protect his memory from the wild media spotlight, so they decided to skip all the usual celebrity show business stuff. Because he had been living like a regular guy for over 30 years, the main Hollywood studios did not even notice that a giant legend had left us. It was a sad, peaceful end for a man who always did things his own way, and the family just wanted to grieve without any cameras around. But you know how the internet works, and this sudden lack of information started causing a lot of trouble online. Because the family kept everything so secret and did not hold a giant funeral in Los Angeles, people on the internet started making up some wild stories. Fans could not understand why a huge star from Enter the Dragon did not get a huge celebrity send-off, so they started guessing about what happened behind closed doors. This empty space in the news gave internet trolls and video creators the perfect chance to start spreading a bunch of nasty lies. Who actually showed up? Instead of the usual Hollywood spectacle with cameras and red carpets, his family chose to handle everything with dignity. On July 13th, in the year 2013, a small and private memorial service was held for him in his hometown of Lexington, Kentucky. This small gathering gave his closest relatives and childhood friends the perfect chance to celebrate his incredible life right where it all started, completely away from the noise of the entertainment industry. There were no cameras from big television stations, and there was no mainstream media coverage because the family wanted peace instead of a media circus. Some fans online still look at the guest list for his final send-off and wonder why they did not see a crowd of famous movie stars or old cast members from his big films. But when you look at the situation objectively, it makes complete sense why things happened the way they did. First of all, by the time Kelly passed away in the year 2013, many of his key co-stars from his most famous movies were already gone. For example, the legendary Bruce Lee had passed away 4 decades earlier, and other major figures from that era were also deceased. On top of that, you have to remember that Kelly had consciously walked away from the Hollywood movie machine more than 30 years before his death. He did not hang out at celebrity parties or live the Hollywood lifestyle anymore because he was busy building a totally different life as a tennis professional. He did not leave behind a network of active show business friends because he had chosen a completely different path for himself. The people who knew him best during the final decades of his life were his tennis buddies, martial arts students, and his loving family members. So when it was time to say a final goodbye, it was those exact people who showed up to honor his memory rather than a bunch of strangers from movie studios. His family did exactly what he would have wanted by keeping the focus on his real human relationships instead of his old movie fame. He lived his life with an incredible amount of personal pride, and his final send-off reflected that exact same dignity from start to finish. So, that's that. From everything we've shared, do you really think the stars of martial arts cinema genuinely turned their backs on their old friend? Leave your answers in the comments below. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Thank you for watching, and if you enjoy this video, please click on the next one.